All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to talk about a tool called Cucumber. And honestly, it promises to totally change how software teams talk to each other and, test their work.
So, what if your project requirements could automatically test themselves? I mean, really think about that. Imagine the description of a feature, the thing you write down in a document, wasn't just static text. What if that description could actually spring to life, go check the software and tell you, yep, this works, or nope, something's broken? Sounds a little like magic, right? Well, that's exactly the problem Cucumber is built to solve.
Okay, so to really get why a tool like Cucumber is such a big deal, we have to talk about a huge, super common problem in pretty much every software project. I'm talking about the communication gap.
So look at this. On the left, you've got a super simple business goal, right? A user should be able to log in. Anyone, your boss or project manager, they get that. But then, look at the right. That same simple idea turns into this jumble of code. And this is exactly where things get totally lost in translation. How can someone who doesn't code be sure that that block of text actually does what the simple English sentence asks for? It's a classic problem.
So what's the fix? Well, it's not about forcing business folks to learn how to code, and it's definitely not about telling developers to stop writing it. The real solution is finding a common language, a middle ground that both sides can not only understand, but, and this is the important part, that both sides can actually use.
And that idea, that philosophy, has a name: Behavior-Driven Development, or BDD for short. Now, BDD isn't a piece of software you install. It's a way of thinking. The whole point is that everyone on the team, the business people, the testers, the developers, they should all be talking constantly about how the software is supposed to behave, and they do it using examples that everyone agrees on.
Okay, so this is where Cucumber finally enters the picture. If BDD is the what, the philosophy, then Cucumber is the how. It's the tool that makes all that collaboration actually happen. You can really just think of it as a universal translator for your whole team. It's the bridge that connects those plain English sentences directly to the code that does the work.
So you're probably wondering, how does this translation actually work, right? How do you get from a simple English sentence to a real, live, automated test? It's actually a pretty simple three-step process. First up, you write something called a feature file, and it's just plain English. Second, developers hook up some code to that English in what are called step definitions. And finally, a test runner just runs the whole thing. Let's break that down.
So step one is the feature file. And just look at this. You see those keywords, given, when, then? This isn't code, not at all. It's just a simple story describing what a user does. This is something a project manager could write themselves, or at the very least look at it and say, yep, that's what I want.
Okay, now here's the real magic. Every single one of those English lines gets linked or glued to a little piece of code. This is called a step definition. So when it says, given the user is on the login page, that phrase is connected to the actual code that tells the browser to open the login page. See? That's the translation happening right there. All right, so we've got our English story and we've got our code translations. What's next? How do we actually push the go button and see if it all works? Well, that's where the test runner comes in. You can think of it like the conductor of an orchestra. It's really just a simple little file. You just tell it, hey, here are my English files, and here's the code that goes with them. Then you hit run, and the test runner reads the story, step by step, finds the right piece of code for each step, and just executes them one after the other. And when it's all done, Cucumber spits out this really clear report. It tells you exactly what passed and what failed, in plain language. This isn't some crazy error log that only a developer can understand. It's a direct, simple answer to the question, is our software doing what we asked it to do?
So you might be thinking, okay, that's cool, but why go through all this trouble? What's the big payoff? Well, it's a concept that is so powerful it can literally change the way your team works. It's called living documentation.
And the great thing is, everybody wins here. Your business people, they get to see tests written in plain English they can actually read. Your developers and testers, they get reusable code and a much cleaner way to organize things. But the real win-win for everyone is that everybody is finally on the same page, working from the same script.
So what do we mean by living documentation? It's simple. Your project's requirements can never be out of date. Why? Because the documentation is the test. So if a developer changes some code and it breaks a feature, the test fails. And since the test is the documentation, well, you see, it forces the code and the requirements to always be in sync. You end up with one single source of truth for how your app should work. No more guessing.
And that right there is the heart of what Cucumber does. It's so much more than just a testing tool, it's a communication tool. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. If you could just erase that gap between what the business wants and what the developers build, if your entire team could finally speak the exact same language, what could you accomplish?